Welcome to the Peaked podcast, where I talk about gender identity ideology and other bad ideas, women's rights, and free speech from a European point of view.
Hold on,
Important.
sorry. Okay, sorry. Okay, now that I've remembered to hit record. Okay, so I can say your name because you're an out TERF. Your name is Dana, and you're from Slovakia. Do you want to introduce yourself a bit?
Okay, so I'm Dana or Dana sometimes, and I'm a journalist right now for a Slovak conservative newspaper. Before I used to work for 4W.pop, which is an American outlet, gender critical women. And before I was a feminist activist here in Slovakia, like a liberal feminist, I guess.
And how do you go from being a liberal feminist activist to writing for a conservative outlet?
Yeah,
I guess that's
many
a
people
similar.
asking that question.
And so, do
um,
people believe you when you say that you're a feminist, or they say no, you can't possibly be?
well, depends. But I don't even know if I'm a feminist anymore. It's just such a meaningless label. So I
Yeah.
basically don't really interact with the liberals anymore. So no one asks me this question. I only
Okay.
interact with them when they are abusing me online. So
Okay. And do you still have your Twitter account? Because I don't see that much on Twitter anymore. I guess because you have a job, you can't spend all
no,
day on
I
Twitter.
deleted it at some point because I wanted to be less online, and then I created a new one, and you know how it goes with the new
Yeah,
ones.
I do. I know. And so just before we launch into the situation in Slovakia, I am curious, because you write for a conservative outlet now, that means you're surrounded by people with more conservative, generally
Yeah.
conservative ideas. Is it rubbing off on you? Like, this is a thing that I wonder about myself. Like, have you become like any less pro whatever lefty thing in the
Yeah.
last however months you've
Yeah.
been working them? You have generally?
I guess, yeah. I mean, the biggest difference between me and my colleagues is that most of them are pro-life, and I'm not, so that hasn't changed.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm definitely more like my views are more nuanced, even in this area. Like I am pro-choice, but I just don't see stuff the way I used to.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. All right, so I wanted to talk to you because I want to give people an idea of what's happening in the different countries. I would like to keep this going, so I'm going to, as in, I would like to cover as many countries as possible and not get bored or worn out from doing it. So we're going to try and keep it quite quick, try and like stick to 25 minutes, half an hour, where we just try and get an overview of what's happening in Slovakia. You're not the first person I've asked, but you're the first person who said yes. You're the only person I can ask in Slovakia because I don't know any other TERFs there. I think you are the only TERF in
Oh
the
yeah,
village by the
I
sound of
am
it.
the only turf
Oh, the
that's like out turf here, like a
lonely
real
Slovakian
turf.
TERF. Oh,
I mean,
awful.
most of the country, of course, are people who know the difference, like between sexes, and that you cannot change sex. They realize that, but
Hmm.
they don't really advocate on that.
Because you're saying that they're right wingers who are like biological essentialist type people, or you're saying that people just don't talk about it because they'd lose
No,
their
people
jobs.
just think it's normal. So I
Okay.
mean, most people, like normal people, know that you cannot change sex. So why would they go
Yes.
around and say
So
that?
why would they go around repeating it? Yeah. Okay. All right. So give me an idea. Slovakia is obviously a member of the EU.
Yeah.
And what's the population, more or less?
Oh, kind of 5 million, I guess.
Okay, like Ireland, basically. Ireland is
Oh,
5 million, including Northern Ireland. Yeah, that's interesting. So it'd be a nice comparison. And the current government is, don't you have have I heard that you have a right-wing government at the moment? Tell me
uh,
about the political
well,
situation.
so our government changed in September, and now we have a government that's mostly kind of like populist to the right, maybe like in some aspects. In some aspects, they say they are leftists, so it's kind of hard to say, but they're not woke, and they are not going to introduce like a woke legislation and stuff like that. I don't think they said before the elections that they are like against gender ideology and stuff, but I think it was mostly a populist gesture. So I don't think they're going to like make real trouble for the gender movement. But
And
they
what
are not going to be like really actively proposing any woke stuff.
hmm And what do outsiders say about the government? Because maybe I'm confusing it, as everyone always does with Slovenia, but what, or Czech Republic maybe.
Oh,
But
right.
what do outsiders say about the government? Are they saying they're
Mm.
right-wing, scary bad guys, or
Most like corrupt and like mafia
okay, okay,
friendly and hateful
okay,
towards minorities, I guess.
okay? So that
So
yeah,
kind of
that's what I've heard.
like Orban in a kind of like Orban. He
Yep,
was our prime minister was actually compared to Orban in a
yep,
Hungarian prime minister.
yeah. By whom?
By the EU people,
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought.
and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
But so you're on the inside and you can say not Orban if Orbanite.
Hmm.
That's inaccurate. And so do you have any opinions on why it would be important for the EU to pretend that the current Slovak government is like Orban? Is
I
it
mean, they could be in a way like Orban. I don't. I mean, it's different politicians, but they have some similar views that they express publicly, even about Ukraine and stuff.
Mhm.
They like each other with Orban, our prime minister, and him. But I mean,
okay,
they
but they
just
don't
like to. It's easy for them to say that he's like Orban. You know.
okay. And okay, so was there is there any kind of public conversation about gender self ID at the moment in Slovakia, or is there
Mm.
or any other like men and women's sports, men and women's prisons type conversation, or is it all just this? We have to explain at some point maybe the gender ideology, anti-gender
Yeah.
movement, conspiracy theory. But tell me, what's the situation in the press and the media generally? Do
So
people talk?
So we don't. So maybe let's start with the laws because that's kind of you'll see from there. We used to have the old school law before 2022. So like you would have to go to a doctor, have your genitals removed or your reproductive function removed to get the legal sex change. And then our minister, who was also like health minister from a conservative party, he changed it, but it's just like he just issued a regulation without any kind of discussion with the public that established that you can get the legal sex change even without the operations and stuff. And then he actually put the legislation on hold because he was facing a lot of criticism from his own ranks. And he said he will put it on hold until there is another regulation issued. And the regulation was then issued, the second one. It's very confusing, and no one understands that. I mean, I don't even understand that really, and I'm like one of the four people who maybe see into it a little bit better. But
Yeah, but hold on. What was so the health minister just issued, and he said, right, that's it. We're going to overhaul the old school,
yeah,
get your bits chopped off law, and we're going to replace it. And what was that in what law? Was it
well,
like
it wasn't
what
a law.
legislation? No, okay.
It was just like a regulation that the minister can issue. He just signs a paper and it's out there.
So it wasn't an amendment to an existing
No,
law that would have to be voted on or
no,
anything. So he was just
no.
like an edict from an emperor, like, here we go, we're going
Yeah.
to stop doing this thing. But is that really common in Slovakia?
No, well, not really.
And do you
Is
know,
it?
sorry to interrupt because I know you're on a roll
Yeah,
there,
sure.
but I'm just interested to know, do you know who he came, like, would he have been like a very progressive minister?
No, no,
Was he
no,
coming
no,
under
no.
pressure from
He was
who?
part of a like they were self identified conservative government, and he was part of that. So It was strange, but I think there were a lot of very progressive doctors or like woke doctors around him that were influencing him, and then so he signed this into existence, and then he actually like not really withdrew, but put it on hold, so it didn't really apply because he was facing criticism from his own party, I think, because they are conservatives.
So you think that he was maybe lobbied by progressive doctors and not
Yeah, yeah.
necessarily the rainbow activists, or both?
No, I
Did
think
you ever
the
look
rainbow
into where it
activists
came
were lobbying the doctors, and then the doctors were
from? Okay.
lobbying. That's my guess.
So it got put on hold, and then the
Yeah,
government changed
yeah,
anyway.
and
Okay, and
then
this new government is no plan to revive it, I guess.
well, it's a bit more complicated. So then they issued a second document, like a second regulation that did the same thing. So it canceled the condition that you have to have your bits chopped off, as you so charmingly said, and now I'm lost. Anyway, so there were
Right.
two regulations, both kind of like saying the same. Both were just like had to be signed by the minister. That was the only thing that made them effective. And then the new government, they said before elections that they will cancel these documents. So they canceled one of those documents now.
Okay.
And I mean, it's so weird because we know our newspaper knows about one trans identified man who actually changed his legal sex because of these documents, although they were not legal in effect. He was able to change his sex even without having the operation, just by going to the registry. And that's what I heard. He took some lawyers with him and was bullying the registry office worker.
So that was
And
to change his birth certificate,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
or like his driver's license and other sort of documents. Do you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, of course, yeah. But that's the only one that we know of because he said that himself in a podcast or something. And we don't know how many other people were able to change their legal sex like this because the
Okay,
ministry doesn't want to tell us basically. So
of course. Yeah, yeah. And so why did the new government cancel only one of these declarations, one of these regulations,
well,
sorry?
I don't know actually, but I think they don't really understand it. Like they don't know what the fuck because it's really so weirdly confusing. And they promised that they would cancel this one regulation because no one was asking them about the other one because no one really understands it. So I mean, yeah, it's such a mess. It's very hard to explain. But
And
but
interestingly,
they canceled it because there was pressure from like kind of like right wing or whatever conservative people.
that's the thing about trans activists. They count on people not understanding enough so that, and they're not going to go out there and be very vocal about the fact that they only cancelled one of these documents. They're going to keep it probably very
Yeah,
hush hush because it leaves the
yeah.
possibility open. And so just for people who don't understand what we're talking about, we're basically talking about legal gender recognition by
Hmm.
self-determination, which is a long way of saying self-ID. Self-ID means that you go into your local, whatever, your registrar, your town hall, and you say, I am the other opposite sex, and no questions asked, no psychiatric evaluation, no surgery. You don't have to divorce your wife even. So
Okay, but
any
I
website,
just want to
is that
I just want to be clear that this is not the case. So you still have to go
okay?
to a doctor.
Oh, I see.
Uh, but I mean, if you find a good enough doctor or whatever, they can just issue you the certificate.
Does it
But you still have
a
to go to
mental
the
health
doctor.
practitioner or a GP?
Yes,
A mental health
psychiatrist
psychiatrist. And
or
how, like,
sexologist.
is there a minimum number of visits or anything like that?
No, no.
Okay. So you just need a letter, basically.
Yeah, just a piece of paper from the
Okay.
doctors. And I think the only problem with the doctors is that there are not so many who can issue the paper. So, it takes a longer time.
Okay. So we don't know how many people have
No.
utilized this new system, and what else? Is there any other laws, relevant laws related to healthcare or kids in schools, education, anything like that?
Mm. No, not really. Not laws as such. Maybe some internal regulations, but no,
Okay.
not laws.
Okay. And then what else then? The conversation has sort of just the Conservatives promised to get rid of this self-ID
Mm,
light. Then they got in and
yeah.
they only half did it. And is anybody agitating for them to finish the job, or is it only you, like, and your paper, or what's the situation like?
It's mostly us in the paper, basically.
Wow, that's crazy. And
Yeah.
what about feminist groups
No.
in Bratislava, or no,
No.
nothing, nothing at
No,
all? What are the
they are
feminist groups
so
saying?
low.
Do they say nothing, or do they vocally support it?
No, they vocally support it.
Wow. And what's the name of what are the names of the big LGBTQ groups in Slovakia, and what are the names of the feminist groups?
The feminist groups are kind of tiny. That like we don't even have like a big one or something. Um, like I can't even name them all from the top of my head. But
Okay.
the LGBT ones are much bigger and much better funded. So, for example,
That's
we
funny,
have
isn't it?
one. Yeah, it's always like that.
It's interesting.
But so we have one that's called Sapling.
Okay.
That they operate. They yeah, it's kind of yeah. You'll see it. It's a very good name. So they operate in the east of Slovakia, which is kind of always thought of as like less developed or whatever. But they are actually the best paid ones, like
The best funded.
LGBT activist fund. Yeah, because for example, last year I did an article about this actually recently, so I remember the number. They got 600,000 euro from like a kind of like EU funds and local funds, you know, and government funds, and most of that was EU funds. So
From what program, do you know?
these are the like youth exchange programs. So
Erasmus.
Erasmus, and then the second one, which is some kind of solidarity corps or whatever. I don't even remember,
Mm-hmm.
but it used to be the same stuff as Erasmus.
Okay. And that 600K was in total from the government and the EU and
Yeah, but
whatever
most of that
else.
was from the EU.
And do they also get like private philanthropy funding or grants or project grants from ILGA?
Um, Not last year, but they did some years ago. I'm sure.
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
sure
Carry
because
on.
I yeah.
Yeah, tell me more about sapling.
Yeah, they really do the most stuff and the most like grooming stuff as well because they have this community center, which is the only one actually like LGBT community center right now in Slovakia, in the east of Slovakia, and they conduct drag workshops for young people there. So that's kind of like biggest groomers I can imagine, I guess.
And is that at the moment, or that was like
They
in
do
the
that.
past
They do
years?
that like frequently, like smaller ones, you know, just for the local youth. But then right now there is a workshop happening that's sponsored by the EU. It's a youth exchange. So as we were talking, yeah, I think it's paid by Erasmus. And there are young people from I think 11 countries right now who are learning how to do drag.
Oh my God. Because I saw there was a Erasmus drag thing from a couple of years ago. So this sounds like it's a part of a series. It's an
Yeah, it's a
ongoing thing.
series, but it's always organized by some other NGO from some other
Uh,
country.
okay. And is it always focused on Central and Eastern Europe, or is it everywhere?
No, it's all EU basically.
Okay.
There was one in Spain a few years back, like 2 years back, I think there was one in Spain. And now there's these organizers of this one are Austrian, but they are having it in Slovakia because it's cheaper. That's what the Slovak guy said.
And just because I know this intimately, Bratislava is very close to the border with Austria and actually
Yeah,
quite
yeah.
close to Vienna. So we're close neighbors. It's not like they're far away from each other. But in terms of, okay, do you want to talk any more about that? Because I have some question about culturally, really, on the internet and young people looking for healthcare and
Mm.
stuff. Can I go on to those questions?
Yeah, you can.
Cool.
Only
Was there
one
any
thing
other
I just want to
NGOs?
sorry, I just want to clarify that by young people I mean people from 16 to 30. So there's this
Yeah,
age range, 16 to 30.
youth.
Youth.
Known officially as the youth. Yeah. Okay. So what and apart from Sapling, are there other NGOs that are how old is Sapling? Is it new or is
It's
it
quite old. Yeah, it's
okay?
been around since I think 2012 or
And
something like that.
it's focused on youth, but is there or is it focused on all ages?
Oh, well, it's kind of all ages, but I think they realize that the most money they can get is from these youth exchange programs. So that's why they
Okay.
kind of, or maybe they just like young people for other reasons.
So like everyone seems to want something from young people, so I guess that
Mm,
they're going to get more funding and keep the lights on and the salaries paid if they build their
yeah,
mission around
yeah, that's
converting the
also
youth.
true. But
So,
there could be other reasons. And also the guy who established the NGO and is the main the CEO or whatever is like a middle-aged gay guy, which seems to be a thing in these circles.
yeah, so I'll say no more about that. Um, so apart from Sapling, are there others
Yeah,
that are
but
popping
there
up?
are
Yeah.
only kind of like five of like bigger ones, I guess. There are not that many.
Hmm. And is it like in other countries where they're like invited or insert themselves into consultations constantly, like to try to influence laws about
Yeah,
all
yeah.
kinds of unrelated things? Do they lobby the government actively or the departments, the ministries and stuff actively, or what's apart
Yeah,
from
they
dressing
do
up little
lobby.
kids as sex clowns? Do they do that? Do they? And
Yeah,
so
they do that, yeah.
is it clear to you what their principal legislation that they're interested in is?
Well, oh yeah, of course, it's the partnership for gay couples because we don't have that,
Okay.
like
Hmm.
whatever it's called
Civil
in
partnership.
English. Yeah, civil partnership or
So
marriage,
that
of
doesn't
course.
exist. So if you're a gay couple in Slovakia, you can't get any
No,
kind of recognized partnership with a
no,
same-sex partner.
no,
Okay.
no, no.
And how
And
close are
then,
we?
and then, of course, it's self ID because they are also lobbying for that.
Okay. And so let's just come back to this document that was the two self ID light documents,
Hmm.
and one was taken away. Would it make sense to you that the Conservative government recognizes that to keep the youth vote on board or youth support on board, that they could sort of just ignore that and leave in place that second regulation, um, because they're worried about upsetting like the rainbow lobby,
Mm.
or is that too much of a stretch?
Yeah, I think so. I think it could be the case. Even with this one document that was cancelled, the minister was really like reluctant to do it. She had to be pushed into canceling it by more conservative members of the government, and then it also took a long time for her to publish the actual like the cancellation on the website, which is the last step of the process. So
Oh, really?
um, I think this is going to be a long battle if it
Hmm.
ever ends.
And I have another question about that. I wanted to know, do you think the influence of this self-ID light discussion is having an influence on the ability to gain civil partnership rights for gay couples?
Mm,
Or are they seen completely separately, or do most people just not know or care, or do they how much do regular Slovakians care about civil partnership?
well, I think
What
most
I'm asking
like
is how
yeah.
homophobic are you guys?
Oh, well, I don't know, but I know that conservatives don't want the civil partnership, and actually, well, maybe that's one of the issues that I kind of agree with them on now.
Hmm.
Uh,
Really? I know you
yeah,
as a hardcore lefty. Why?
just think it's the next step to marriage. They're just gonna, if this passes, they're just gonna lobby for getting married, and then there's also, after getting married, adoption and surrogacy stuff, and I'm just Like, no.
But you were friends with lots of gay people. You know that
Yeah.
some people just want to get married. But so you think that marriage, like, are you saying that in an anarchy kind of way, or in a like you don't think two men should be together or two women should be
No,
together?
they should be together if they want to be
Okay.
together. I don't care, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it carries too many dangers
Okay.
for mostly for kids, to be honest.
Okay. It's funny because in Brussels we have obviously people from very, very, very progressive Nordic countries, and then occasionally you'll hear somebody express an opinion like this, somebody like yourself from the Central or Eastern countries, and it's totally taboo, like within the elite bubbles of Brussels, and it's just really funny to hear you say it like that. But a lot of people from Eastern Europe and Central Europe do
Hmm.
have that opinion. But usually not for the reasons that you're saying. Usually they have that
Mm.
opinion because they just think being gay is icky and against God or whatever. But you're saying that the danger, well, I mean, looking at the surrogacy discussion now, like I'm so completely against it, having,
Yeah, yeah.
experienced a few cases up close. I don't know though. I disagree with you on that on gay marriage. I think gay marriage is good actually, but we don't have to agree on everything. Did you change your mind on that, or did you always feel that way?
No, I changed my mind. I wasn't really thinking about it before, so
Yeah.
I
But
don't know.
it's for reasons of like protecting kids. The whole gay marriage fight in the US, at least I know, was fought on the basis of like normative arguments about no, making out that gay couples were exactly the same as straight couples, and it was almost a
Mm,
conservative argument was made that it's better for families ultimately to raise a child in a two-parent family, and I think this is
mm,
Andrew Sullivan talked about it. It was this was one of the arguments that was kind of made to win over the red-blooded Republicans who were against it.
mm,
It was sort of like, actually it's better for kids to have two parents. What do you think about
mm.
that?
I really don't know. I mean,
No.
just like see, but just from I know not all gay lesbian people are like the LGBT movement is like presenting them, but I know that there's the tendencies are there that you just the way they present themselves on the drag and I mean I don't think it's great to put kids into that environment.
Hmm. Okay. Um, all right, let me see if I have more turfy questions left because we've got 27 minutes on the clock. So, anything else that we should know then about, oh yeah, this is what I want to know. Any famous TRAs, trans activists, who's your most VIP AGP, the most disgusting transvestite that is always on the TV and offered up as,
Oh yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
the our favorite celebrity
Hmm.
troons.
Well, there could be. I think there are like three that are high profile, and which is much more than it was just a few years ago. And one of them is a journal, kind of like he's a DJ mostly, but he also sometimes writes for a mainstream newspaper. And in his free time, he calls women cunts on social media. So that's one. Then
It's weird that they're
there's
all like
sorry.
that. Yeah, they really do hate women. Like
Yeah,
it's a pattern. I'm seeing a pattern.
yeah, yeah. But he's also like he pretends that he's a feminist and writes these articles that are like pro-feminist, and then he goes to his social media and just like calls any women counts that he doesn't like. Yeah, well, so that's one, and then there's this kind of like young guy that I was talking about that talked in a podcast that he changed his legal sex. And I think his case is actually quite sad because he was just a feminine boy when he was a boy, and then I think he was molested or something, and just I don't know what happened after, but now he's a woman, and he go everywhere he goes. He goes to protests, for example, uh, to advocate for self ID and against like bans on changing sex, because we had that as well. We had some proposals for to ban legal sex change altogether. So when he went there, he would go there with his mom, and he's like 18 or something, I don't know, but he would go there with his mom and hold her hand and just like cry on the podium. And it's just it's very strange to see an adult man just like walking around with his mom holding his hand and stuff. So yeah, that this is kind of a
And it's
weird case.
interesting that there's been more advancement to there's been more success in introducing self ID light, as I was calling it, than there has been to allow gay couples to even have civil partnership, which just for me just shows how
Mm,
homophobic self ID is, or
yeah,
transgenderism is.
yeah,
Okay,
and so
so
I don't
that's
think this guy. I don't think this guy. The second one is an AGP, but he's a very prominent trans activist in a like a different way. He also has an OnlyFans, that also seems to be a thing, like totally just sexualizing yourself. Um, I don't know. I don't understand how no one cares and no one says that that's not healthy.
yeah. And then there was a third one you said?
Oh yeah, there's a third one. His name is Liberty Simon. He's a very tall dude. Looks kind of like a woman, like if you don't hear him speak. And he's just like an influencer or something. And I don't know. I don't know what to say about him.
And what do these people appear on TV, on mainstream TV
Yeah,
regularly or anything?
yeah.
Or yeah.
Sometimes,
And is it
not
always like clap,
regularly.
clap, clap, stunning and brave?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And yeah, our media now is quite woke in these respects.
And what to what extent do you think there's outside influence on that sort of thing, like the media and politics generally, but also the civil service and the culture? Do you feel the influence of like international institutions like the UN and
Mm.
the Council of Europe and the EU?
Well, I wouldn't say I feel them directly, but yeah, yeah, definitely. What I see directly are most like American influences, mostly, sorry, because they really do a lot of stuff through their embassy, or also the Dutch embassy is quite prolific in this.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, they have funding schemes. They fund all kinds of LGBT stuff here in Slovakia. They also, for example, this one is gonna sound funny probably. So, last year or this year maybe, the American ambassador, gave an award to a man that's called Woman of Courage. So they have an award that they give out every year. I think it's called Woman of Courage, and this year they gave it to a man, to a trans-identified man. So that's
And was
yeah
that
one of
like
the.
a big deal? It was just like a small article in the paper,
Ah,
or
just a
was this
small
man
thing.
on the okay? And the Dutch embassy, what are they up to?
It's mostly, I think, funding stuff, like funding a new community center in Bratislava, LGBTQ community center,
Crazy,
and
isn't it?
just like
What?
yeah,
I
meeting
don't
with
think
these
Dutch people know
activists.
this.
Yeah, I don't think they do. And also Canadian embassy, I think, is quite active in this. So also they went to Pride in Bratislava together. All these people from the embassies, they were taking pictures there and posting all over the networks. No, we went to support the civil rights in this backwards country.
That's mental.
I'm
I
not
don't.
quote.
Yeah, I've
That was not
spoken
a
to Dutch
quote.
people. Okay, I've spoken to Dutch people before about this, and I'm like, do you realize that your Dutch government is just like giving money all over the place for
Yeah.
queer projects? often specific project funding. And then they've got
Mm-hmm.
this there's an organization called Hivos or whatever, and it's like the Dutch
Mm-hmm.
Humanists Association. It's been around
Mm-hmm.
for a long time, and they also pay for a lot of this stuff. And I just think, like, if Dutch people knew how much their government spent, like they give huge grants to all of the big NGOs in Europe. I wonder if they would care. Well, only people like us would care, I guess. Everyone
Yeah.
else thinks it's wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I'm trying to think about. I'm going to let you go then because,
Yeah. Sure.
as I said, I'm practicing trying to keep this short. Is there anything else we really, really need to know about what's happening in Slovakia at the moment? Are there any upcoming deadlines for any more votes or issues or referenda or
Mm.
elections or anything?
No, not really. I would just like to see the drag workshops and the youth drag workshops because that's really messed up. You'll see videos from there, just like I saw one today where a topless 17-year-old woman was dancing in a bar, and
No.
just like really, really, really messed up stuff. So that would be great
I
if the
just
EU could
remembered that
stop
is really messed
funding
up.
this.
Can you, yeah, can you send me a link to that, Dana, please?
Yes, of course. I will.
Because I'm familiar with one of the programs, but just to make sure I'm not missing the one that you're talking about, I forgot to say I want to come back to medicine seeking, hormone seeking behavior
Hmm.
and internet subcultures. I'm going to ask about that, but I also forgot to mention that, of course, 2 years ago, 2021, there was a shooting in a bar in Bratislava
Oh yeah,
that is a
yeah,
gay bar, a queer bar, I
yeah.
guess. And the two people who were shot. So the guy who did it, his dad was some sort of ex right winger
Yeah,
politician.
I think.
Is that correct? And he was maybe
I think
driven by homophobia,
the
or
guy.
is that not the case? Tell me.
Well, no,
Hmm.
well, partly. It's a big thing in Slovakia. Like some people say that he was motivated by hate against LGBT, and some say he wasn't because he originally wanted to shoot the prime minister, and because of he believed in some kind of strange Jewish conspiracy things. It's like real Nazism actually. Um, and so his first goals were the prime minister, but then he realized that he can't get to him, and for some reason the LGBT bar was like a second best choice for him. So I don't know.
And there was actually something in the Guardian about that the other day.
I do.
Yeah, they spoke of how there might be some invisible or semi-invisible network of crazy people all inspiring each other around the world.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I mean, that could refer to me, So I kind of don't like pay much attention to it anymore. But now that you say that, yeah, I did read something about it. And the people that were shot in the bar, correct me if I'm wrong, one of them identified as non-binary,
Yeah,
or was that
they were two guys. One of them was one of them identified as non-binary. Yeah.
okay, last question then. Oh yeah, okay. So in Ireland and in the UK and in Belgium and in the Netherlands and in France, I'm in a lot of these groups in those countries for young people who are all seeking hormones and
Hmm.
later, obviously, surgery, but also binders and how to be more masculine, how to get the doctor to say yes, blah, blah, blah. Does that exist in Slovakia as far as you can tell? Are you in those groups? Have you seen evidence of it?
I'm in some groups, but not. I don't think I'm in the right ones yet because I haven't really seen all these things. So I saw trans-identified people talk about like which doctor is good, like which doctor to go to. But apart from that, I haven't seen really like. But I'm sure it exists here as well.
And do
I
you know, is it, if you are over 18, is it quite easy to get a doctor to prescribe you hormones if you don't, whether
mm,
you have or don't have legal gender recognition or whatever? Do you know?
yeah,
Because the reason I suppose I ask is because I know that people are going to the Czech Republic for,
yeah. They
yeah,
do.
forget, is this, did you tell me that actually before? Was
It's
it you who
quite
told me that?
possible. Yeah.
Yeah. And so what evidence do you have of that? What's the story there?
They say it on their websites, like they advise the other trans people that if they want hormones, they should go to the Czech Republic or the operations as well. It's easier to get to them in the Czech Republic.
I need to get a Czech TERF to talk to me. Last question then. When you say they advise them to go to the Czech Republic, who's that? Like Sapling and the other NGOs?
No, I saw no. This I saw on one website that's run by a trans man, or I mean a female. That just says like these are the steps that you have to do.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So if you're like 16 looking for testosterone or whatever, you might have a chance of getting it from a Czech doctor.
Yeah, or I think online as well, because I heard that in Czech Republic one trans identified man was talking about this on some podcast or whatever, and he was saying that that you can do it like that.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay. Dana, thank you very much for the update.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Let's do it again when there's more, when there's any development, just let me know. We can chat.
Sure, thanks.
Okay, ciao. Thank you.
Bye.
If you like my work, you can subscribe to my newsletter by going to pete.substack.com and taking out a paid subscription.